The storm over the ridge glowed with violet arcs as the human soldier named Lion pushed through the fractured metal of the wrecked shuttle. He had arrived moments after the distress beacon from an unknown vessel pierced the gray clouds of the frontier world. His patrol had scattered to search for survivors, but it was Lion who heard the faint cry under bent titanium supports. He moved debris aside and saw her, an alien girl no older than a teenager by human measure, with pale silver skin marked by faint luminous stripes. She stared at him with wide, terrified eyes. He felt an instinctive pull to protect her. He cleared the beams with steady strength and lifted her into his arms. She clung to him with trembling limbs, as if he were the only stable thing in the collapsing world around them. Outside, winds from the charged storm sliced across the ruins with sharp sparks. Leon shielded her body with his armor and carried her across the uneven ground toward the evacuation point. Energy flares burst across the landscape as unstable crystals detonated in the storm's wake. He ran faster, footfalls thundering against broken stone, until he reached the higher slope where his shuttle waited. He set her down gently on the ramp and examined her injuries. She breathed rapidly and whispered in a language he could not understand. Yet the meaning of her fear was unmistakable. Something more than the storm had chased her from the sky. He comforted her with calm words and guided her inside. As the hatch sealed and engines lifted them clear of the ridge, he saw shadows moving. Far below, tall figures with molten armor scanning the ground. They were searchers of some unknown realm, and their presence meant the girl had fled something deadly. He knew she needed protection far beyond their immediate escape. When they reached the human frontier station, he carried her into the medbay. She grasped his wrist until the very last moment before the officers separated them. For hours doctors examined her crystalline bones and luminous veins. Specialists tried to decipher her dialect. When she finally awoke, she pointed at Lion through a glass barrier, and the translators recognized her repeated word as the same signal that had been encoded into the distress beacon. She kept saying the human's name in her own musical tone. She insisted he stay nearby. Even though she was not human, her trust in him felt deep and instinctive. When diplomatic channels opened, they discovered the truth. She was the daughter of a monarch from a distant stellar empire known as the Karali Dominion. Her name was Mira. She had been aboard a royal convoy when pirates attacked. Her vessel was forced to crash on the frontier world. She had survived only because she ejected early, yet she would have perished in the storm without Leon. Messages poured in from her empire, and soon her mother, the Karali Queen, sent word that she would come herself to retrieve her daughter. The day the Queen arrived, the air shifted. Her flagship descended like a shimmering mountain of silver plates and radiant spines. Its light cut across the station courtyard and cast elongated patterns over the ground. The Queen herself stepped down the illuminated ramp. Her appearance was regal and imposing. A crown of interwoven living crystals circled her head. Her eyes shimmered with the same glow as her daughter's, but far deeper. She moved with a calm, commanding presence that made everyone instinctively stand straighter. Mira rushed into her arms, and they embraced with fierce relief. Leon stood a respectful distance behind the station officers. He expected nothing more than a polite nod for his role in saving the princess. Instead, the Queen's gaze locked onto him with an intensity that startled him. She walked toward him with measured steps and extended her hand toward his face. He stiffened, but did not flinch. Her touch was cool and light. She studied him as if reading the lines of his spirit. She asked for a translator and spoke with clarity. She said her empire recognized honor when it saw it. She said her daughter lived because of him, and that such a life debt could not be repaid lightly. She declared that from that moment forward he belonged under her protection and within her royal household. The officers froze in shock. Leon tried to politely decline, explaining that he was a soldier bound to his own command. The queen listened patiently and refused his refusal. She said that no empire would deny her claim when it came to a life bound through rescue. Her voice carried a gentle strength that left no room for contradiction. Mira stood beside her mother and tightened her grip around Lyon's arm. Her eyes glowed with gratitude and familiarity. She had feared death in the storm, and he had become her anchor. She did not want him to leave. So the queen looked at Leon again and said he would travel with them. She said he would be honored. She said his courage would be treasured. She said she would not let him go. The frontier officers negotiated furiously, but the Corelli fleet held overwhelming diplomatic weight. In the end, they allowed Lyon to accompany the queen's vessel for a temporary stay until a proper treaty discussion could be arranged. The station commander gave him a quiet salute just before he boarded the royal craft. Then the ramp closed, and he felt the shift of gravity as the vessel returned to the sky. Inside the ship, the corridors shimmered with gentle light that moved like flowing water across the crystalline walls. Mira guided him with bright eagerness, while the queen observed with thoughtful calm. Everywhere he walked, attendants bowed lightly toward him. They treated him not as a stranger, but as a guardian. When he passed by the observation chamber, he saw stars, stretching like rivers of fire as the vessel accelerated. The queen invited him to her private hall where delicate sculptures floated in patterns that shifted with her gestures. She asked him about the world he came from. She asked about his training and his reasons for running toward danger instead of away from it. Leon answered honestly. He said he saw a person who needed help. He said he could not leave anyone behind. The queen smiled with quiet approval. She said that such instinct was rare among many species. She said he possessed a spirit that Corelli held sacred dot. As days passed, Leon discovered that Mira followed him like a shadow. She asked endless questions about humans and laughed with bright curiosity when he described the landscapes of Earth and the variety of human foods. She brought him small crystalline fruits that glowed faintly in his hands. She showed him the star charts of her empire and explained her dream of becoming an explorer. Each moment she spent with him strengthened the bond created in the storm. But Leon also saw the burden that weighed on the queen. She carried the responsibility of ruling a vast realm, and she feared losing her daughter again. So whenever Mira wandered too close to danger, the queen watched her with protective vigilance. She also watched Leon not with distrust, but with a silent decision forming in her mind. On the seventh day, the queen summoned him to the throne chamber. Tall pillars rose like living crystal trees around the central platform. She sat upon an ornate seat of radiant layers that pulsed with soft light. She requested all attendants leave. Only he and Mira remained before her. She told him the Dominion had declared him an honored guardian of royal lineage. She said such a role required permanence. She said she wanted him to live among them as part of her household. Leon felt a heavy stillness settle over the chamber. He explained again that he could not abandon his people. He said he owed loyalty to his command and his world. The queen listened attentively, then rose from her throne and approached him. Her height towered over him, but her presence never felt oppressive. She reached out and placed her hand lightly over his chest. She said that loyalty did not vanish simply because he joined another realm. She said that two allegiances could exist without conflict when built on honor. She said the Dominion would celebrate rather than restrict his heritage. Mira stepped closer and spoke in a soft, trembling tone. She told him she never felt safe until he lifted her from the wreck. She told him she wanted him to stay, not because he was bound, but because his presence gave her courage. Leon felt her small hand slip into his. He looked into her luminous eyes and saw sincerity so clear it silenced every argument. He asked Queen what staying would truly mean. She said he would have a place of respect. She said he would learn their ways and protect Myra through future ventures. She said he would not be a servant, but a companion of honor. She said she would personally ensure no political force could use him. Then she said the same words that had hung between them since the station courtyard. She said she would not let him go. Leon felt both weight and openness in her words. He considered the lives he might touch in this new realm. He considered the bond he had unintentionally formed with Myra. He considered the depth of gratitude the Queen carried. He finally bowed his head and accepted the role, but only on the condition that he could one day return to his people as a bridge between the two civilizations. The Queen placed her hand on his shoulder and agreed without hesitation. From that moment, Leon became woven into the heart of the Dominion. He trained with royal guards who studied his techniques with fascination. He learned how to read the flowing crystalline script of the Corali. He joined Mira on exploration lessons and showed her how humans used simple survival skills. Crowds greeted him as a symbol of unity. He remained humble, but he also saw how much the Dominion valued compassion above power. On one expedition, Mira wandered too close to a fractured energy vent that pulsed with unstable heat.